Mr. Money, will you please escort Mr. Washington off the court? Take him down the block. And if this dreadlock bumberaz even blinks wrong, you lullaby his ass.
You just robbed a house. You have all this great stuff that now belongs to you, but you got this annoying pang of guilt nagging at you. Well, worry no more, because your friends at Cell Block Greeting Cards have the answer for you. Introducing our new line of petty crime thank you cards. Before you smash and grab one of our cards and leave it behind on your next heist. Choose from any of these fine heartfelt cards like,
thank you for the plasma TV.
Or,
thanks for the PlayStation, alcohol, and penny jar.
And,
don't use your toothbrush.
Or limited time, introducing,
I'm still in the house.
And many more sentimental petty crime thank you cards. Available at any back alley, shadowy parking lot, or
armchair.
Ready to go?
All set. I can't believe we're going dancing.
You don't go that often?
No, because it's so stupid. Shall we?
It's important to remember the value of taking time for ourselves, to do the things that help us grow and explore, like learning something new. And now with the Great Courses Plus, it's never been easier to experience the joys of learning. The Great Courses Plus offers thousands of streaming videos that cover hundreds of fascinating topics, from World War II to choosing the perfect wine. You can even take a course on the U.S. government or dealing with stress and anxiety. And because the Great Courses Plus partners with world-class professors and experts, you're always receiving thoroughly vetted, high-quality content from every lecture. Plus, you can watch or listen anytime, anywhere with the Great Courses Plus app. So take a little time for you. Sign up for the Great Courses Plus today for a free month of unlimited access. Visit thegreatcoursesplus.com/radio to get started. That's thegreatcoursesplus.com/radio.
My favorite comedians, I'm excited to talk to you.
Well, I'm excited to be here. These chairs are horrific. This is designed for like, I don't know what age. It's not like 6 to 8. Like when you're 11, this is like the perfect size. It's not quite adult size. It's not kid size. I already slouch. It's going to be a bad interview, dude, and I'm blaming the chair.
You've never really written on a sitcom before if you go through your credits. You hadn't really been on a show before.
Why'd you have to bring that up? Just right out of the gate, he goes negative. There was all these other nice things on your IMDb page I could have brought up, but I noticed this one glaring thing that you've never done, and right out of the gate. Was it because I made fun of the chairs? I'm sorry.
Get caught up with the big stories from around the world in sports in just a few minutes. It's Take Me Out to the Ball Game today, weekdays. Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube. Baseball, football, basketball, whatever's trending in the world of sports, it's on Take Me Out to the Ball Game today in just a few minutes. It drops weekdays. Take Me Out to the Ball Game today on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel. Take me out to the ball. The Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live. We're covering the NBA playoffs until we have a winner. Subscribe and like us today. Your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by our mystery sponsor, a product that is so good that they're paying us to keep anyone from associating it with this program.
Hey, what we always call on the game, PlayStation game, what we always call? Heads or tails on the PlayStation game. All right, then. You should have told him tails. I thought you told him. No, I told you. I thought you knew the special teams always told you. They don't play the PlayStation like us. They don't play it like us. I thought you told him. That's why I said they don't play the PlayStation like us. They don't play it like us.
Story time. She never even knew her shirt had a hole. Lot of style.
Story time. This was the moment the lad would propose to the girl. No. Story time. The man came to the bus stop every day to pick up hot chicks. Story time. With that curl, he knew he was now ready to beat up that kid Jimmy at school for stealing his milk. Stupid Jimmy.
I forget, the first play of the game, Brett threw it to me, came over there spinning it to me, man. And then I ran the wrong route. And we come back to the meeting room, and coach like, bruh, come on now. You got to know what you're doing, man. And Brett, I'll never forget, Brett stood up and was like, I told him to do that. Knowing he didn't tell me to do that, but he stood up and said, I told him to do that. And I looked back like, I'm like, oh man. Then we got out on the field. He's like, I got your back, bro.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Story time. The ladies congregate here every day to scope out the hot dudes. Story time. In every group of friends, there's the dumb one.
Really?
Story time. It was clear that a romance was blossoming between them. A romance lasting a lifetime.
So our quarterbacks coach at the time is the offensive coordinator currently for the Minnesota Vikings, brand new, John DeFilippo, a guy who I love. I've watched, just won a Super Bowl as the quarterbacks coach with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I remember the story as it was told to me was Coach DeFilippo said, look, Jamarcus, we've got about 15, 20 plays that we want for this week. Here's a DVD for you. Tonight, I want you to watch these, okay? Because tomorrow, this is what we're going to go with the game plan. But we feel like these are the best for you and what your skill set can do. So you look at these plays, and then tomorrow, you tell me which ones you like, which ones you don't like. So Jamarcus is like, cool. He takes the DVD. So the next day they come to practice, come to the facility, say, hey, Jamarcus, hey, how's that DVD? Did you look at it? What did it look? He's like, oh, coach, all the plays. I'm good. Whatever you want to run, let's do it. I like him. He said, okay, which ones you like? 5 of them? Do you like 6 of them, 10 of them? How much you like? Coach, whatever. I saw them, that we good. We ready to go. I can do them all. And Coach DeFilippo was kind of looking around and was like, it was a blank DVD. So he didn't watch the DVD, but he told everybody, oh, y'all watched it. I did. And that's when I think they kind of knew, like, uh-oh.
Armchair.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
But what the hell, boy?
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Good morning. Armchair. YouTube Live.
CBS Sports
Radio station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station? It's everything.
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, the Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern Sports Talk.
Good morning. I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. The flea flicker does not work in the National Football League, Urban. It might work against Vanderbilt. It might work against Northwestern. Doesn't work in the National Football League. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks for Overreaction Monday.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man. With a cool one in his head. Yeah, the armchair quarterback. He's kind of fun. He's kind of bad. The all-American man.
Hey, howdy, hi, top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show. I'm Mac McGee, and Justin Waller will not be able to make it today. He had to go into work early. It's a long story, but they got some things going on. But Doug is on the way. We're going to be talking some fantasy football. I am going to get into a lot of stuff here. The Vols hang in there. Clemson loses. Notre Dame rolls.
Florida State continues to be a joke. Red Sox, Yankees is what we'll lead off with. But before we get into that, we do want to dedicate this show to my little dog, Coda Rain. She's in a bad way. And just so I don't break down here on the show, long story short, we're going to dedicate the show to her, and I'm going to leave it at that. She's on her way out, and she's been with the show the entire time. And you see her on every show, you see her picture, and she's not just a family dog. She's a dog that has been part of a family. So we dedicate this show to her, and we wish her the best in the afterlife. So let's go ahead and start off with the first thing that I wanted to get into as I try to straighten up here for y'all. I do apologize. I was not planning on doing that. Major League Baseball, you probably missed a lot of Major League Baseball over the weekend because that's what happens during football season. Baseball takes a back seat on the weekends, and then you get dialed back into it on Monday, Tuesday. Well, a lot of things have happened since the last time that we've talked about baseball. Timus, by the way, will be joining us at 9:30, so we will be doing a whole thing with baseball, doing Braves Country. We're doing one continuous show now. For those that missed the memo that I put out over social media over the weekend, because of all the play-by-play stuff that I'm planning on doing, at least to the end of October. The Armchair Quarterbacks Wake Up Y'all show will only be on Mondays and Fridays. We figured those were the two best days to be on. It's the days that Justin can be here. I was able to work out the other guys' schedule, so they're going to be able to stop by, and we'll see what we can do with that going forward. But we are going to have a Mondays and Fridays are going to be typically Mondays will come on a little earlier than what I did today, normally around 8:15. I was putting something together, and you'll see at the end. But it's been a rough few days here, so we haven't been able to I haven't been able to be in the studio. It's been a rough few days here at the house. But anyways, typically we're going to come on around 8:30 on Mondays, a little before, and then Fridays will be at 8 o'clock, and both will go till 10 a.m. So you're going to get almost as much content just in a shorter period. It's going to allow me to do more stuff, and I am going to do more drops on YouTube, less live shows, more drops, but we will continue to do Friday mornings, Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, and Mondays. So we're going to be here 4 days a week. We're going to give you 2-hour shows each time. So it's still quite a bit of content, more content than we were giving you during the summer. But I'm planning on doing the live play-by-plays for the Atlanta Braves for at least Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and until they hopefully clinch the division this week. So I'll be doing every one of those games, and then we'll go from there. We're already planning on, assuming the Red Sox make the playoffs, Timus has agreed to sign on and do the AL wildcard game with me. So hopefully the Red Sox do make the playoffs, because I think that would be a lot of fun. And we're going to kind of go from there. So tomorrow night, 7:20 first pitch, Atlanta Braves will be here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. And like I said, we'll be here for the entire Phillies series. I'm expecting to do as many of the Mets games that are necessary. So until the Braves clinch, we'll kind of go from there. All right. Major League Baseball over the weekend, couple things that happened. The Rays clinched the East. The White Sox have clinched the Central. The Astros, for all intents and purposes, they're going to win the West. They've got a 5-game lead over the Mariners with 6 to play, and they've got a 6-game lead on. So the magic number to eliminate Oakland from the division is 1. The magic number in Seattle, I believe, is 2. National League West, that's the big one. The Giants and Dodgers are going, man, are they going into the corner wide, in the wide of the turn. They're only separated by 2 games. The Giants still lead the division, both of them up over 100 wins. It'll be the fifth or sixth time, I believe, ever that two teams from the same division will have won 200 games. And one of those was in 2018 when the Yankees and Red Sox did it. Of course, they both made the playoffs because it's in the wild card era. Now, the one that I remember the most was in 93 when Atlanta went down the stretch. This is pre-wild card, and the Giants and the Braves went down the stretch, and the Giants did not win the division. The Braves outlasted them. It was one of the greatest. It was the last great divisional race in the history of baseball, because after that they put the wild card in, and if you had a really great record, you're going to get in with your wild card. Now, it'd be a little different this year if the East had some good records, et cetera, because can you imagine the mess if, let's just say, the Braves and Phillies had around 100 wins along with the other two out west, and one team's going to get left out, and you have a team like Milwaukee sitting in the Central that might have what? Anyways, nowadays it's less likely for it to happen, but in 93, the Giants got left out, and man, they were ticked off about it, but it is what it is. So this will be the first time since 2018, only the second time since 93 that this has happened. I think the other time in our lifetimes would have been 1980. Well, I think it was the Orioles and the Yankees in 1980 both had 100 wins. So with all that being said, one of these teams is going to get the short end of the stick because, yeah, they'll get in the playoffs as a wild card, but it's a one-game play-in. And, oh, by the way, while this is going on, let's say it's the Dodgers for argument's sake, because the Dodgers are the ones that are chasing down the Giants as opposed to vice versa. The Cardinals have now won 16 straight games. This team is on fire. Is that the team that you want to face in the first round of the playoffs? Now, I think it's highly unlikely that the Cardinals win their last 6 games and have a 22-game winning streak, but we've seen it before. Remember, Colorado, I believe in 2007, they were on fire and won it down the stretch. So, though you figure the Dodgers will be favored in that game because it will be in Los Angeles. Even as hot as the Cardinals have been, they're still 13 games behind the Dodgers in the win-loss column. That's how crazy an event this has been, because the Cardinals were the last team everyone thought would take off. So the Cardinals are going to get in the playoffs. They've all but, I think their magic number's down to 1 maybe to get the wild card. I'll get the magic numbers pulled up by the show I'm doing with Temis, or the segment I'm doing with Temis at the 9:30 Eastern slot. But unbelievable. And then, okay, so put that aside. In the National League East, the Braves were able to, they lost the first game Friday night, and that was the completion from way back on July 21st. So officially, that wasn't a part of the 3-game sweep that they just went into San Diego and swept San Diego. And all of them were really close games. All of them came down to the wire, and all of them had us on the edge of our seat, biting our nails and everything else, as the bullpen pitched pretty well, except for Will Smith. Will Smith continues to struggle. And he loaded up the bases last night. He walked 3. Now, he turned around and struck out 3, but he walked 3. And this is the guy that they're going to try to lean on in the 9th inning if they get to the postseason. This is the guy they're leaning on this week to try to get to the postseason. And I don't have a lot of faith in him. I really don't. I just feel like every time he comes in, you're hoping that the batters do something out of the ordinary and get themselves out, because the guys that got on base last night, they were smart. They worked the count. If you work the count with Will Smith, he will work himself into trouble. I've only seen him once in the last calendar, we'll say 2 weeks. I was about to say a week. We'll say 2 weeks. There's only been one time that he's gone out there and has looked like a major league closer, going and firing strikes, getting ahead in the count, and he has to get ahead in the count because what makes him dangerous as a closer is the slider. But if he falls behind the count and it's happening because he's trying to get you to swing at these sliders at the beginning of the count, he's got a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Pinpoint it, get in front of the count, and then work the slider. And at that point, you'll do fine. But he's trying to frisbee in the slider, and it's missing the zone depending on what blue you get behind the plate. And so that's where the Braves are. It's an absolute mess. But somehow, with the very questionable decisions that have been made from the dugout and the very questionable closer that we have and the injury, the season-ending injury to Ronald Acuna Jr., the injury / suspension that's looming over Ozuna, Mike Soroka never getting on the field this year. With all that, the Braves have a 2.5-game lead, 3 in the loss column on the Philadelphia Phillies. In a perfect world, they will clinch this week and they will not have to play the extra makeup game on Monday. If they do have to play that extra makeup game on Monday, it would be in Atlanta and it would be against the Colorado Rockies. But first things first, they've got a series that's going to begin a series that's going to begin tomorrow, and it's a week-long homestand versus the top 2 teams in the division, Phillies and Mets. And though the Mets have been eliminated, the Mets have lost 9 of their last 10. I guarantee you they are going to bring their A game come Friday if the division is still on the line. If the division is still on the line, the Mets are going to want to try to play spoilers because it's the only thing they've got left to do this year. Now, Philly will go to Miami. Miami will probably do the same. And I think Miami's, though they're not playing great right now, they're probably a better team than New York at this point. But anyways, we'll put baseball aside. We'll talk about it here in the next hour. And let's get into the National Football League. What about Aaron Rodgers coming out and slinging it, getting what is one of the more remarkable and honestly an all-time performance for a Sunday night football game. I didn't watch it live because I was dealing with stuff here at the house. I watched the replay this morning, and wow. I woke up to some text. I didn't know what they were referring to, and went back and watched it, and it really is impressive. The passes that he made, the toughness of Devontae Adams to get up after that hit, which was, I don't know if it was a dirty hit, but it was definitely an illegal hit. And you had that going on. You had the Chiefs losing last night or yesterday afternoon. We'll get into that when Doug joins us here in a minute. It's Raiders versus Chiefs in that division, and his Raiders found a way to get to 3-0. So they got a 2-game lead on the Chiefs in this division, which is remarkable. No one's really expecting this at this point. Everyone just assumed, penciled in Kansas City. The one team that I thought could probably give them a go if things went right, it was the Raiders, because they have played the Chiefs well. They haven't even played the Chiefs yet, but they've played the Chiefs well. But I had a lot of questions about the Raiders coming into the season. They're now 3-0. Now, they haven't played the most difficult schedule, but a 3-0 in the National Football League is a 3-0 in the National Football League. I don't care what anybody says who you've played. It's still impressive. And even though the Dolphins didn't have Tua and they had to win, Raiders had to win at home in overtime, they did it. They found a way to do it. They found a way to do it, and the Chiefs found a way not to do it. And there were some goofy, terrible throws by Pat Mahomes yesterday. Watching Red Zone, and he did a no-look pass across his body that the receiver tipped in the air and it was picked off by the safety inside the Chargers 10-yard line. And the first thing that was being said by, I don't know the guy's name, but the guy that hosts the Red Zone, he starts making excuses. I don't know if he's a Chiefs fan, if he's an apologist for Pat Mahomes, if he's just a fanboy, whatever. But he says he tries to blame it on the receiver. That was not the receiver's fault in any way, shape, or form. Not any way, shape, or form was that the receiver's fault. First of all, he no-looks passes for no reason. This isn't basketball. There's no reason to do a no-look. But I get it. If you want to do a no-look because you're going to get the defense off edge, okay, it's cute, and if it works, it works. But when you no-look, you are running the risk of not being very accurate with your pass. And when you do a no-look in basketball, it's a round ball. You don't have to be as accurate because it's a round ball and it's traveling less space normally. A football, if you don't throw it exactly accurate, it can do funny things, and that's what it did. And the ball was terribly thrown off the line, and so the receiver went to try to catch it because it was a terrible throw. He knocked it up in the air. Sure, had he knocked it up not knocked up in the air, it may not have been intercepted. I don't know, but the point was it was a terrible throw because he was getting cute and doing a no-look pass. So for folks to try to say, well, that was the receiver's fault is completely way off base. If you were doing that, if you were saying that, you were just a fanboy. What about the Justin Tucker field goal to win the game? And the terrible call by the refs that's not being underlined. If you were watching the end of that game, the pass that went out of bounds prior to, they should have been 5 yards back. So it was a terrible call by the refs. Absolutely terrible. And because of that, history was made. 66-yard field goal. But at the same token, should it have ever been able to be attempted? There should have been a delay of game penalty there. It's 5 yards. And people will say, well, if that happens, I mean, it goes down. I mean, it sits down there for about a second, maybe even a second and a half. I watched the replay a couple of times, and the clock is sitting on 0. Then Jackson's leg goes up. Then there's a snap. Incompetence by the NFL refs yesterday. Should have pushed it back. They probably wouldn't have never been able to have attempted a pass, period. There would have been. The thing was, the clock was winding down. The play clock goes off. I want to double check this and make sure that I'm seeing this right. But when they talk about the delay of game penalty and it goes back, he's going to have the ball then about the it'll be like a 71-yard kick. 71-yard kick, and you're probably going to have to try to do something there. Now, there might have been a different play call, but the pass was thrown out of bounds. There's 3 seconds left. If you do make a quick pass to the sidelines and it is complete, maybe he gets out of bounds in time, but it's going to be really bang bang, and most likely they're probably just going to go ahead and alley-oop it for a Hail Mary is going to be my guess. My guess is they don't even attempt a field goal. They're going to try to alley-oop it because the thing was Baltimore had no timeouts left. So they couldn't just do a really quick play, get down, call a timeout. It would have to be on the sidelines. And I think they probably would decide to go for the Hail Mary. So that game, if you're a Detroit fan, I had some fun with that with Sean, by the way. He had said something snarky about the Jags loss, and then I literally copied and pasted it to his agony during the Lions loss. And I won't tell you what his reaction was when he said back to me, because it's not allowed on air. We do appreciate you listening today. Evidently, we're going to be in 3 different markets this morning, so I do appreciate y'all listening. If you want to hear us every morning, jump on the YouTube channel, Armchair Quarterbacks. We are on YouTube, and we go live pretty regularly, almost every single day. We do this show, and then, of course, we do the Saturday and Sundays on the Dixie Football Nation and handicappers. The handicappers, man, we took one on the chin yesterday. We had such a good stretch in winning, but we did terrible yesterday. Now the college football picks, we roasted it, but the NFL picks were terrible yesterday. Some of the ones I thought were pretty goofy, and even ones I thought had a good chance. I thought Bobby 6.5, Waller catching 6.5 passes was a gimme. Over 6.5, he had 5. So that was disappointing. Sean was the only one with the Detroit homer pick with the +9. And though I liked the pick, we all know he picked it because it was a homer pick. So terrible day against the spread. But we will redeem ourselves. And Clemson losing over the weekend, I think college football-wise, that's the biggest story. That is by far the biggest story. I hit it again on my stupid underdog pick. I needed to just start laying money on the money line on my stupid underdog pick because they were a 10-point favorite. I think they were a +350. It might have even been closer to 400 on the money line. They win the game outright. We'll update you on the stupid underdogs on Saturday. But I've never seen anyone finish with over the high 20s. I'm already at 31 points this year, so that's pretty rare for us to come out the gates. Normally, these stupid underdog picks are exactly what they say. They're a stupid pick. You're hoping for an upset, but you don't really believe it's going to happen, but you do think the team's going to cover the spread. So what the heck? 3-0 right now on my stupid underdogs. It's insane. And I'm picking last. That's the strangest part about the entire thing. I'm picking last. So I have the disadvantage. I've picked last in every single one of these. The first one, I pick last because I'm the host. And then after that, it goes by whoever's the highest score picks last to make it fair. So guys, don't get I guess if you wanted to do it extremely fair, you would just take turns each week whose turn it was, but that's not how we do it. We try to make it as competitive as possible. Kind of like, the worst team gets the first draft pick. That's kind of the thought process we go with. What about the Buccaneers getting roasted by the Rams? And I saw this coming. I didn't want any action on the Bucs because I felt like that the community, the betting community, the NFL community, I felt like that they were extremely overconfident on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You listen to any Buccaneer fan over the last year and a half since Brady has arrived, they don't believe they can lose any game. They were a slight favorite at kickoff. I think it was a 0.5 point, 1 point favorite. So essentially a pick 'em. But they were a favorite on the road in Los Angeles to a Rams team that has looked extremely good. And I really believe that game comes down to if it was played in Tampa, Tampa wins, but it was played in Los Angeles. And what I expected to happen happened. Remember, LA's doing this without their best running back. Cam Akers is out for the season. So Stafford's off to a great start. Notre Dame rolls past the Wisconsin Badgers. I watched that whole game. That was a really good game. If you look at the final score, it's not indicative of how close it was. It's a really good game. So the good news on that, from if you're looking from the money standpoint, the upcoming lines that'll be affected by Wisconsin, they will be underrated on the lines because folks will just see that blowout score. Say, wow, man, they're not any good. They lost to Penn State. They were blown out by Notre Dame, blah, blah, blah. It was a really close ball game. Florida State looked terrible again. I'm not even going to waste anyone's time with that. They look much better in the second half. I will say this. They look much better in the second half. But even though they looked better in the second half, why do they look so bad in the first half? So that's a mess there in Tallahassee. I'd say they looked better, but my word, you're Florida State at home. You should beat Louisville. You shouldn't get a moral victory against Louisville. You got Syracuse coming up. I don't think that's a gimme win either. I said it before. I'm going to be shocked if Florida State wins more than 2 or 3 games this year. It's just, I'm going to have to see a much better team in October than what I saw in September. You take the Notre Dame game away, this team has been putrid. What else went on in the weekend? The Vols hung in there with the Gators. Now they were the opposite. They looked really good in the first half, and then I just think it's the depth with the Vols. The Gators eventually pulled away from them. Remember, the Vols lost a lot of players in the transfer portal after the coaching change. All in all, I thought Heupel did a pretty good job. And bang the under on that one. Titans over the Colts. That's another big one. Titans are now 2-1. The only team you're really worried about in that division is the Colts. It's the worst division in football. You now have a 2-game lead, but it's really a 3-game lead because you have the tiebreaker. Now, with that being said, I don't really believe in seeing it that way at the beginning of the year because until you play the second game, there is no tiebreaker. Because if the Colts hold serve, and we'll take all the other games away, if the Colts hold serve at home, that would make them 1-2, or excuse me, 1-3, and that would make the Titans 2-2, and it would give you a 1-game lead. So then it would come down to divisional games. So your divisional games are going to be very big, especially in a year where the Jaguars are bad. Urban Meyer was out coached once again. He looks like he's out of his element. And what can you say about the Texans? Not only are they dealing with injuries and all the other junk with Deshaun Watson, their head coach is making really questionable calls himself. If you're the Titans or you're the Colts and you want to win that division, winning against the Jaguars and the Texans is mandatory. And I mean sweeping it. Because I feel like one of the teams is going to sweep it. And you don't want to be the team that does it. I will be shocked if the Jags and the Texans win a combined more than 1 game outside in the division outside the games they play each other. But I do think it'll happen. Jacksonville or Houston will either upset Tennessee or Indianapolis, and it could decide the division. So Tennessee looked better than they did at week 1. They looked better in week 2, and they looked much better in week 3. But they were going up against a banged-up Indianapolis team. So we'll see where that takes us. Let's go ahead and take a break. Doug should be on the way, and we'll be getting ready for talk a little fantasy football and the Raiders. We'll be back here in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Keep it locked in here to CBS Sports Radio and YouTube Live.
You dumped a porn star? Friendship over. Friendship over!
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks Drive Time Armchair Quarterback Show on Facebook Live, and make sure to tap that app, the Armchair Quarterbacks app. Google Android, Apple iPhone, good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Peanut butter.
Chocolate. You got peanut butter on my chocolate.
Well, you got chocolate in my peanut butter.
Bravissimo.
Two great tastes that taste great together. Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Real milk chocolate. Good old-fashioned peanut butter.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Make sure to keep it locked in here on Armchair Quarterback Radio. We're not one-trick ponies. We cover the entire NFL, past and present.
3rd down and 6 at the 9. And Bo Jackson to the 20 and out in front, and only one man to beat, and easily can't run him down. He had the angle, but there goes Bo, and nobody catches Bo. Touchdown. Dion. Lamar started and turns the corner into Giant territory and leave it to Dion to break it open for a touchdown. What a run! Dion comes in as a receiver. Sanders going his way, but there's double coverage. He's able to beat the coverage, but intercepted by Sanders. Can he score again? Yep. There he goes. Sanders, 71 yards. And so the Dion combined a 59-yard punt return for a TD, a 55-yard pass reception, a 39-yard punt return, and a 71-yard interception return.
Get your Sunday football morning started off right with the Handicappers on Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube, 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern. Your Sunday morning kickoff show where we tackle your NFL lines out in the desert, a 61.2% win rate over the last 6 years. Against the spread, over, under, money line, you name it. And we dive into the world of fantasy football year long and your DFS payouts. The only true Southern football kickoff show that talks the spreads in Vegas, your DFS and fantasy, in your year-long quest to win that fantasy football championship. Only on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel. It's the Handicappers on Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube, 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern. Sundays, all NFL season long.
Oh my gosh, I'm really sorry.
Welcome back here to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good morning.
Good morning.
CBS Radio and YouTube Live. And Mr. Doug, how are you this morning, sir?
Good. How you doing?
I am doing well. The Titans won. The Braves won. Seminoles stink. But other than that, I'm hanging in there. What about them Raiders?
Oh, man, they give me a heart attack every week. Every week. 2 out of the 3 weeks. We gotta push it into overtime.
Well, it is the National Football League.
That's true.
You don't you don't. It's very rare that you win going away. You don't get a lot of Broncos versus Jets type matchups where the game's just a blowout. And I've been impressed. I was saying this earlier in the show. You're 3-0, and I don't care how you got there. You're 3-0 in the National Football League.
Yep.
And you found a way to win. Kansas City's now 1-2, which is the big thing, right? By far, that is the big thing. So I'm looking at this as the Raiders have a chance to dethrone the Chiefs. I know it's really early in the season. So I get the fact that we're kind of putting the cart before the horse. But at the same token, man, I mean, we're talking about an opportunity. If they could put them in the wild card round, there's a chance Kansas City doesn't make it to the Super Bowl. And I think we've gotten in this mindset because of Brady that that the best team always just goes to the Super Bowl.
Right.
But you forget about these down years and these what it takes for an entire 53-man roster to come together and win on a weekly basis in the NFL. It's not even necessary. And then, of course, we get the news about Andy Reid after the game that he's not feeling well. Hopefully everything's all right with him. But how does that affect preparation, right? If he's not able to be on the sidelines, et cetera. So we'll see where this goes. But I believe the Raiders have a really good chance of winning this thing.
Yes, they can. But what I like, and we had talked about this in preseason, is I think the whole AFC West is loaded. Not just us, but if you look at the way Denver's defense is playing, the way San Diego finally got it together this weekend, I think that if not the Raiders, the Chiefs have a problem with the entire rest of the AFC West. I think I think the Chiefs are in deep trouble. If they're going to play like they played yesterday, because the rest of the AFC West is sharp right now. So they've got quite an uphill slog if they're going to play like they played yesterday.
Yeah, I look if you look at the schedule, pulling it up right now for this coming week in the National Football League, and you look at the matchups, I believe the bye weeks are coming up. I think they're beginning another week 6 or 7 this year. In years past, it's been earlier, but they're going with the theory that it's kind of better to wait before you do that. Honestly, if I was the National Football League, I would get as many bye weeks in as I could in October, because you're going to lose those broadcasts, but baseball's having their playoffs, so you won't lose as much revenue if you do it during October as opposed to waiting until because once the baseball playoffs end, everyone gets dialed into the NFL 100%. So if you look at the schedule this week, the Raiders are going to be at the Chargers on Monday night. That one's huge.
Yeah.
That one's it's for the division lead right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chiefs, for some reason, I can't find them. I don't know who they're playing. I thought I had it.
They play the Eagles.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. 1:00 on Sunday. They're in Philadelphia. I thought that was 2 weeks away. So I really hope that Andy Reid is okay so he can go back to Philadelphia, where he spent years. I feel like he's probably coached there since then, but who knows, because the way the NFL schedules are, you only play your opposing opponent once every 8 years. And I'm trying to think, God, I think this is his 8th year at 8th or 9th year at Kansas City. So he may or may not have been back to Philadelphia yet, but I'll tell you what, you can probably grab it right now. We'll see what happens on Monday night. The Eagles are a 5.5-point favorite at home.
Right.
I mean, excuse me, underdog, 5.5-point underdog at home. I would grab that before Philadelphia looks good on Monday night. If Philadelphia looks good on Monday night, that thing's going to go down to like a field goal. Looking at some of the other lines, the Titans are at the Jets on Sunday. So you would think it would be a blowout. They're a 7.5-point favorite. I never put anything past going to New York City and giving up a lot of points. I think you remember the Raiders getting thumped by the Jets. What was it, 2 seasons ago, something like that?
Yeah.
Where we just thought it was a gimme that the Raiders are going to go in and win. The Raiders were playing really well. They just blown out the Falcons, I believe, who were a good team at the time. And so you worry about that. Now, the Thursday night game this week is interesting. It's Jaguars-Bengals. And it's not interesting in the fact of like everyone's going to be locked in on it. But you do get Sunshine versus Burrow as the marquee matchup. And the Bengals are 2-1. How about that going into Pittsburgh, taking care of Pittsburgh? One of the guys on the show yesterday picked Pittsburgh, and I was just like, man, I can't get behind that. I feel like Pittsburgh's not a very good team this year.
Yeah.
They fooled everyone with that opening day win against the Bills.
Yep.
But the Bills, I don't know, they came out flat or whatever. The last 2 Sundays, they've looked phenomenal. They're going to be at home against the Texans right now. Out in the desert, they're a 17.5-point favorite. That may not be enough, and you don't see lines like that in the National Football League.
Yeah.
We just saw what they did to Washington.
And that's with a good run. That's with a good defense. So, yeah.
Yeah, a good defense that they shredded.
They absolutely annihilated that defense.
Now, Washington defense is taking it on the chin these first 3 weeks. A lot of people wasted some early draft picks that in fantasy football on them, didn't they?
Yep.
How's your fantasy life going, man? Mine's ups and downs, curves and tilts. I just I haven't really been 100% in because of what I talked about earlier in the show that we've been going through. I'll get locked in. I'd say about half my teams are going to be 1-2. The other half are going to be 2-1. And I got a couple of 0-3s that I'm going to have to really figure something out with. Those are the ones that I'm most concerned with, are the 0-3s. I don't get worried about 1-2. I don't get excited about 2-1 or 3-0. When you're 0-3, you're like, man, if I get to like 0-5, it becomes almost impossible to make the playoffs. I got to find a way to get a W.
Mm-hmm. Mine are,
and I've got one in one league that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be 0-3 in that league. It's such a deep league, dude. There's nothing on the waiver wire, and their waiver wire rules are goofy. Anyways, I won't get into that today, but they're goofy, so it's really difficult to even improve your team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, mine are. I'm pretty much got 2-1, 1-2, and 1-2. So
I beat Ghost to the post, but I'm going to lose to Just Lay Down, please. So I guess we're 1-1 against each other this week.
Yep, pretty much.
Barely squeaked that one out. Oh, Aaron Jones coming to the fourth.
I know. I was watching that yesterday.
I mean, I only need 70 points from Dak Prescott tonight to catch you in the if he scored 70 points. I know exactly what he'll do. He'll go out and score like 68. I mean, are you serious? Are you serious right now? That team, man, Kyle Pitts, that has been a bust. I drafted him way too many.
Everybody that was going to be a bust. I didn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Dude, the guy's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal athlete. I still think it's too early to give up on him. Look, he did. He's not getting enough targets. He got 3 targets this last game.
Mm-hmm.
I watched one of the plays where he was open in the end zone, and Matt Ryan missed him by like 3 feet over his head. And he still almost got it because this guy's got so much ups. He went up to grab it, almost got the thing.
Yeah.
He has just been disappointing so far. He is a rookie. I do believe that there's a way to get back into the fold when you're a rookie and improve some things. But look, if you're going to draft a guy number 4 overall in the draft, use him. Use him. 3 targets yesterday. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, that's the play calling in Atlanta. That just plain old fashioned lousy play calling, and that's why there's
got a chance to get healthy. He's got the the Redskins this weekend, which their defense has not been up to par. And then he gets the Jets the following weekend.
Yeah.
And then he gets a bye week. And I believe when rookies come off bye weeks, they can turn the corner. So he's got one of the reasons why I wanted him was because if you can get to the semifinals and the finals in your leagues, he has Detroit and Buffalo, who give up a lot of points to tight ends.
Right.
But you got to get there. And if he's in your lineup, you're going to have some issues getting there. So that's the heck, Darren Waller didn't do anything yesterday.
No.
What a bum. What a bum.
He hasn't put up anything in 2 weeks now.
They should release him.
Huh?
They should release him.
They should release him.
The Dolphins made it their business to shut him down. They had defensive backs draped all over him. There was no linebacker playing old Darren Waller. I saw him double team several times. I took a prop of more than 6.5 receptions. I thought that was easy. Heck, he had like 19 targets on Monday night a few weeks ago. I was like, 7 catches. He'll clear that at halftime. Ended up with 5.
Mm-hmm. I know, but that's always the belief that Waller.
You should just go ahead and just trade him to the Titans. We'll give you
Ferkser, right?
We'll give you Ferkser, and we'll give you some throw-in draft pick. We'll both see if these guys can, resurrect their careers. So that it'll be tough, but the Titans would then have Darren Waller, Julio Jones, AJ Brown, and Derrick Henry, and we'll see if we can get things straightened out.
I know, muddle your way through.
Yeah.
No, that's play calling of circumstance, because that Raiders offensive line right now, there's no run game. And with Waller being shut down, he's got to throw that ball around to basically people that you wouldn't even think about. Hunter Renfrow and maybe Ruggs, if he actually could consistently catch more than 3 balls in a row. But besides that, it's amazing that the Raiders won that game, considering they shut down Waller the way they have. How he's throwing that ball around to 5, 6, 7, even up to 9 different receivers, or out of the backfield with Drake, or Peyton Barber for that matter. I mean, it's really just wide catching by committee is how they're winning right now.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And looking at the Monday night game tonight, do you have any action going on in that game?
No, I'm taking the night off on any action in that.
I didn't know if you had any. I didn't know if you had any fantasy players going in that game that mattered.
Let me see. I think I have one. Going tonight.
I've got Prescott essentially. Most of my games, honestly, are. It's been decided. I don't think there's any guys out there that I have that I can say, oh, well, this and that. It's been decided. So
yeah, most of mine have been decided too.
Other than that ridiculous game where I would need a 70-point outing from Dak Prescott to beat you, I don't really see me really caring about this Monday night game tonight. But with all that being said, there are some interesting things going on as far as if we look at the point spread tonight on the game. We're going to pull up the current point spread, because I hate to just tell you what the point spread was when I last saw it. So this morning it sits at 3.5. The Eagles are getting 3.5. The game is in Dallas. The over-under is 51.5. Any of that interest you, Would you take the Cowboys? Would you take the Eagles? The over under?
Well, I definitely gonna take the Cowboys, and I'll take the over.
You think the
I will
Cowboys
take the
cover?
over. I will take the over.
I think the Cowboys will cover too. I don't think the Eagles are that good. I think the Cowboys are ready to put it on a show tonight.
Yeah.
Here's some prop bets to get your whistle wet. Jalen Hurts 1.5 touchdown passes. I mean, if you told me 1.5 touchdowns, I'd be more interested in that.
Right.
You're not Miles Sanders rushing yard side are only 60.5 yards.
Well, I think Dallas is going to score early and often, so I don't think Miles Sanders is even going to be a factor in the game.
What about his receiving yards being 19.5 yards?
Yeah.
Because he does get involved in the passing game.
But that would have to be early and often with them because they're going to have to like
his combined is 81.5 yards.
I would say under tonight. I would say it'd be closer to 61 tonight.
What about Devontae Smith getting a touchdown pass? It's paying a plus 160, which is interesting. If you take the no, it's minus 230. So Vegas does not think he's going to score. I think he will score. This seems like the type of place, Jerry Dome, Devontae Smith, Monday Night Football. I think they're going to try to get the ball in his hands.
I think they will too. That's
an interesting prop bet.
Yeah.
I'd have to do a little more research before I tell you to go in and do it, but that is an interesting prop bet. Dak Prescott, 306.5 yards passing. Over under. What would you say? I think so too. And that's a high number.
Yeah.
But they're not running the ball very well. Everyone went out and blew their fab budget onto Tony Pollard, which is just a huge mistake. I still think Zeke's the guy. If you got Zeke, it's good to have Tony.
Mm-hmm.
But to go out there and blow your fab budget when it's not like Zeke is injured.
Right.
And that was a weird game against San Diego. Pollard got a couple of open pops that worked in his, and something else that people don't take into consideration when you see the backup do well, is you see him have a higher yards per carry than the starter. It's usually because when the backup comes in, the defense isn't playing run defense.
Right.
When the backup comes in, you've got one less linebacker in there. You're playing a little back. They hit you with the draw play. So don't just go cocoa bananas when you see a backup do well and the starter isn't doing so well. You better go back and watch the game tape and make sure that it was an honest game. And what I saw of it, Pollard had popped off a couple of plays on like second and long and whatnot. So I would be very skeptical on that one. Dak Prescott rushing yards over under 12.5. Pre-injury, I think he coached by that. Post-injury, I think he's going to run out of bounds before he takes off running, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would think so too. He did that a lot in the Tampa Bay game in the first game of the season. So,
yeah. Longest reception by Zeke Elliott, over under 10.5 yards. What say you?
Under.
Yeah. Zeke Elliott's total rushing and receiving yards, 80.5 yards. That is eye-opening.
Yeah.
A guy that was top 5?
Yeah.
In the drafts. I did what I never do, and I made sure I had shares of someone I didn't like. And I did that with Zeke. I have either in 1 or 2 leagues. And I did it because where he fell in the draft, it was like, my God, I can't just let him go to the second round, right?
Right.
But man, it was against my instinct. I felt like Zeke is on the backside of 30 kind of thing. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, it's a great old country song. But anyways, Zeke, 80 yards total. That's his over under. That's a low number for a guy who's a 4-point favorite at home.
Yeah.
That's a low. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that Dallas offensive line is not intact. That the one kid got suspended to mid-October for bribery. He tried to bribe an agent or something. I never saw the details in that, but that's insane in itself.
Mm-hmm.
The heck you doing bribing people, son? You should be playing football.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper over 5.5 receptions. That's a high number. 4.5, you could probably get me there. Amari Cooper have touchdown pass. You take the over under.
Definitely under, I think.
What about CeeDee Lamb? Does he get in the end zone?
Oh, I think he'll. I would say he'll get at least one touchdown, if not two.
All right, so you probably haven't caught the note, but we're doing a little different on the show. So Mondays it's just gonna be a continuation as Timus jumps on. So he's about to jump on. We're gonna talk Red Sox baseball and a little other baseball. Doug, what is your walk off for the day?
Walk off is in Chicago. You drafted this great quarterback in Justin Fields.
I started him in the league. It was out of desperation, but I started.
I don't blame you. It would behoove the coaching staff to actually put in a game plan, a game for him to play. Yesterday, that was probably some of the worst play calling I have ever seen in a National Football League game yesterday. That was horrible.
I just kept following it, and it wasn't on Red Zone much, so I didn't see any of it. But I've got so many shares of him, but as a backup. But in the league that I had to start him in, I've got big quarterback problems. I mean, big ones. So I had to start him. It could be worse, man. I've got another league where I had to stream Daniel Jones yesterday, and that blew up in my face. But oh my God. I'll find a quarterback throughout the year. But he in our league, which normally you score a lot of points with quarterbacks.
Right.
-4.58 is what he's scored if you started him in any of our leagues.
Yep. Nagy they got to coach that kid. Give him a game plan, for crying out loud. That was sickening to watch.
All right, brother. Well, we will see you next Monday. Have a great day, and good luck to your Raiders. Next Monday, it'll be Raiders-Chargers. We'll be ready for that. We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking some Red Sox baseball. We'll be back here in just a moment. Keep it locked in here on CBS Sports Radio and YouTube Live.
Hey, what we always call on the game, PlayStation game, what we always call? Heads or tails on the PlayStation game. All right, then. You should have told him tails. I thought you told him. No, I told you. I thought you knew the special teams always coach. They don't play the PlayStation like us.
Don't miss a moment of heart-stopping NFL coverage on Armchair Quarterback Radio.
Riggins. He's trying to go all the way. Unless Blackwell can catch him, and he can't. 3rd and 3. We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. Only 12 seconds left to play third quarter. Here's Marcus Allen cutting back upfield, and Marcus Allen could be gone. 74 yards for Marcus Allen.
The quiet man of this football team, Scott Norwood. He can fire the shot heard round the world now. Here we go with 8 seconds to play. High drama here in the Super Bowl. But in the air, it's got the distance.
Armchair.
This helpful instructional message from the National Association of People Who Have Trouble Walking and Chewing Gum at the same time. Step, chew. Step, chew. Step, chew.
World air quality is at an all-time low.
But hey, that doesn't mean you can't have a little fun. New from Mattel, it's the greenhouse gas gun. Do you hate the snowman next door? Use the greenhouse gas gun. Want to piss off an entire room full of tree huggers? Use the greenhouse gas gun. There is simply no end to the amount of fun and respiratory disease you can have with the greenhouse gas gun.
Armchair. We are the Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
He only has 3 rings.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio's #1 sports station.
This is what friendship means to me. Having so much crap on someone that they can't ever reveal the crap they have on you.
Hey there, pal. First draft? How can you tell? Look, there's a few things you're going to want to know. Kickers go fast. You're going to take one early. And don't worry about running backs. You can always trade for one later. Cool, thanks. One more thing. It's good to have you here. You're my friend.
Armchair.
It all.
Good morning. Welcome back. As we're looking at, I got a weird video for Timus Wooten right here. Okay. We do have Timus on audio.
Hey.
How are you, sir?
No one noticed a thing. I've had better weekends than I just had sports-wise. I can tell you that.
Well, I'm a Florida State fan, so you can pretty much suck it. Don't tell me about bad sports weekends. Although putting that aside, because I have to keep my mental health intact. My Braves have done well. My Titans have done well. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as they say. But God bless the Jaguars, man. What in the heck? Dude, Urban Meyer's quickly finding out this isn't the SEC or Big Ten. You can't throw these high school goofball flea flicker plays and expect them to work in the National Football League. And I think he might wreck old Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence. He might just wreck him because he's putting him in positions that I don't know if he'll ever come back. But anywho, we digress. You couldn't get one W against the Yankees?
Hey, let me tell you.
No, let me tell you.
The Yankees outplayed us. The Sox have nothing they can do right now except put it down and turn the page and win these next 6. If they don't, if we miss the playoffs, it's because of this weekend. And you know what? We don't deserve to be there. If we play like we played against now, Evaldi, that's not going to happen very often. He didn't have it. That'll happen.
That one was the one that shocked me more than anything else, Timus, was the Evaldi out.
Yeah. Is it just me, or was he the only one out there that his skin was leaking? You know, I mean, he said he couldn't get a grip. He was sweating too much. It was 70 degrees. I'm like, would you run laps before you went out there?
Cocaine's a powerful drug, man. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. I was like, did you run to Fenway that night? I mean, everybody else has got, sleeves on, and he's out there just pouring water, couldn't get a grip on the ball. Okay. That one happened. Easy to turn the page on something like that because we know that's not going to always happen. And then that stake through the heart in the 8th inning the next day when Giancarlo hit that grand slam, that was a gut punch. I
don't know if there's any Boston Mafia still around, but they should have put a hit out on that guy, man. He was killing the Red Sox. That mammoth shot he hit last night. So I didn't catch the Saturday game because of all the football that was going on, and I was preparing for my Braves broadcast. But I did watch last night's game, and I thought when the Red Sox came back and got the lead, I really thought that, okay, they're going to salvage one of these 3 games. They're going to have a 1-game lead going for the final wild card. and everything will be okay because, oh, by the way, the Yankees and the Blue Jays are about to beat each other up.
Right. Yeah. If we would have just taken one, we would have won. I would have drank
Because
less.
Let's look at it logically. Now, unfortunately, there's no good games today. There are no games today that are relevant in the playoff picture per se. You got A's and Mariners again, but man, those two teams, they're too far out with too many teams to leapfrog to be able to make a real.
Yeah, with 6 games left, it's not going to happen.
The A's and Mariners, whoever it is, one of them has to win out. They can't lose another game, and they have to hope for a lot of help. I mean, a lot of help. They would have to hope for like the Yankees to sweep the Blue Jays, and that the Orioles and Nationals all of a sudden remember how to play baseball. And I just don't see either one of those happening. So if you look at what we're going to get the rest of the week, let's start with the Yankees Blue Jays, and then we'll get to the Red Sox. Yankees Blue Jays, that begins tomorrow night, and it is in Toronto. Of course, unless something changes drastically, they will be playing that actually in Canada, not in Buffalo or Dunedin, Florida. So it's an actual home field advantage for the Blue Jays. The place ought to be rocking.
Yeah, it's going to be loud.
It's Ryu versus Tyon in game 1. Normally, I would say advantage Blue Jays, but Ryu has not pitched well recently. So it's kind of a crapshoot. But if you look at what Ryu has done, and I've got his game log pulled up here, I know he was struggling mightily down the stretch because dealing with him in fantasy baseball, going up against him in fantasy baseball, I was licking my chops. Just last couple of outings. So September 17th, which I believe was his last outing, he went just 2 innings, gave up 5 runs. September 11th, 2 1/3 innings, 7 earned runs. And I believe they gave him some rest, dead arm kind of stuff. And so he's coming back tonight or tomorrow night for the first time. Before that, he was pitching pretty well. So let's say he gets it together and they are who they are, then I'd say it's probably advantage Blue Jays. Wednesday, it's Garrett Cole versus Berrios. That is a crapshoot because if Cole pitches like he did the other night, the Blue Jays aren't going to touch him.
Very true.
But we've also seen Cole lay some duds this year too. And then the Thursday game, that will be Kluber versus Robbie Ray. That's definitely advantage Blue Jays. Because Robbie Ray might be the AL Cy Young winner this year. He definitely deserves the votes. I don't know if he'll get it because he plays in Toronto and all that mess. But let me ask you something from a Red Sox standpoint. So if you look at the standings right now in Major League Baseball, and you look, and we're just worried about the wild card at this point, the Red Sox are 1 game back of the Yankees, 1 game in front of the Blue Jays. You're about to face a very easy schedule. But who are you pulling for? Are you worried about trying to catch the Yankees, or do you just want some distance in between you and the Blue Jays?
At this point, just get in. So I say let the Yankees take 2 out of 3 here. Let's put a little distance between the Jays and us. And we just got to get in now. After getting swept at home, when all we had to do was win 1 to pretty much guarantee the rest of the way in, and we couldn't do that. At this point, it is put on your parachute, make sure it's strapped on tight, and jump in time before it hits the ground. I did not see a sweep coming as far as I can't believe we got swept. I'm still.
I mean, I'm with you. Don't have a dog in the hunt, but I thought worst case scenario this weekend, I figured somebody was going to win that series 2-1. I never dreamed it.
Right.
And if you would have told me someone was getting swept, I would have said, man, the Yankees are going to be in trouble if they get swept in Fenway.
Yeah, the Yankees are done if we sweep. But
now what sucked about that whole situation was they didn't have it set up for Chris Sale to pitch. And I really feel like they should have set that up for Chris Sale to pitch against the Yankees. Instead, Chris Sale gets the ball tomorrow against the Orioles. You got to like your chances of winning there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I like our chances at winning because we're playing Baltimore.
Eovaldi then goes up against some guy by the name of Lowther from Baltimore on Wednesday. He's got a 7.66 ERA.
Awesome.
Oof. We'll just put quotation marks when we say he's in the major leagues. And then Thursday, if that isn't bad enough, so they've got a kid going by the name of Wells with a 7.61 ERA.
Yeah, the Sox haven't I checked their page and they haven't announced who's going on.
Yeah, it hasn't been announced on Thursday yet.
Right. I would think
who went on Saturday for the Sox?
Well, his name just left me. It was
because Erod went last night. Eovaldi went.
Pavano.
Nick Pivetta.
Golly, that was hard to say. I'm not sure why Pivetta.
I would think that's their starter. Did something happen to him?
No, he pitched awesome.
So I would think that's their starter. Because if he pitched on Saturday, you have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's 4 days rest to be able to put them on Thursday. So I'm thinking they just haven't announced it, but I would think that's their starter. I would be shocked if that's not their starter. Because you're not resting anyone at this point, unless there's some kind of
no, it's all hands on deck now. We just got swept. I mean, we could have considered resting people, but that's out the window now.
Am I evil? Am I evil because when Judge hit that double, slid into second base, and right after that, here come the trainers to look at him? Am I evil for laughing? Because I've said all year, for the last 2 or 3 years, Judge is a phenomenal player. Stanton is a phenomenal player, but they're never healthy. And I thought for sure that slide into second base was going to send him to the IL.
Well, yeah, he's made of glass. I mean, but yeah, at that point, I mean, he was struck out. They called the ball that Christian Vasquez dropped the ball. He didn't drop the ball. It was a foul tip into the mitt. It was on the transfer that he dropped the ball, but it's not reviewable. That particular play is not reviewable. And then the next pitch, he hits a double and scores 2. So
that strikeout was crap. I'm glad you brought that up. That was crap. That was a terrible call by the ump.
Yeah.
That was a terrible call. He struck.
That's Joe West.
Dude, of course it was. Why wouldn't it have been? He struck out and then transferring the ball from his hand. You don't ever see that called anymore, ever. You don't even see it called in the field of play, which is when it is supposed to be considered.
Yeah, and how do you see it from Joe West's angle? You're behind him. How do you see that he didn't? I mean, how can you tell that it was not during the transfer? You can't even see him pulling it out of the glove. You just see the ball hit the ground. So how would you possibly know? Yeah, I knew
it wasn't like it was bang bang. He caught it. For people who missed what we're talking about, he caught it, and then after he caught the ball, it was a third strike. He was then reaching out of his glove to grab it. Was it a foul tip?
Yeah, foul tip into the mitt on strike 3.
Foul tip into the mitt, which is why technically it would be a rule. But it was a foul tip into the mitt, and the foul tip makes it into the mitt, and it's not like it was like he was pulling it out to go throw it to second base. He was just transferring out into the at-bat. Probably a second in between the ball hitting the mitt and him going to actually pull out the bat, and then they called it and then they call it a foul tip strike or drop ball.
Yeah. And
trade Gaskin for Woods. Clap is that would if I if you can get Robert Woods for Gaskin, absolutely. But yeah, back to the baseball. That was a crap call.
Yeah.
And it led to basically an unraveling.
Yeah, the wheels came off.
Not to mention the stupid play by the first baseman where he misjudged the ball over in the foul territory. He thought he was up against.
Yeah, and that's the second day in a row that happened. The exact same play happened the day before. He missed it by about 8 inches. He still had another.
Same guy?
Yeah, Dahlbeck. Yeah, same play. He missed it by about 8 inches, but he had a 1.5 feet before he hit the wall or the railing. He doesn't read that. I don't think he has very good depth perception. But
that's not a good sport to be playing.
No, and
perception. I don't know how many sports are good to be playing if you don't have depth perception, but baseball is probably the worst one to be playing if you don't have depth perception. Maybe as an outside shooter in basketball or I don't know,
cricket,
some kind of rifle sport in the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
You don't have depth perception. Thank you doing on a baseball field. The guy surely is no Doug Minkiewicz. That's for sure.
No, he did it the day before, and then I was listening to it on the radio because I was en route to the base, and they said, "Oh, it's a chance to redeem him." The ball was hit so high and was up there so long, they actually had time to tell the story. They're like, "Oh, it's a chance for him to redeem it. He did it again." What? Why? You got to get that out. Get Judge on the bench. Get him, and then they's like, and strike 3. No, he said that he dropped the ball, but he clearly didn't. It was a transfer. And then I was like, well, we're in trouble now. You can't give Judge, 5 strike 3s. And sure enough, he got all Aaron Judge about it. And that's when the wheels came off.
Yeah, the play by the first baseman was pathetic. The call at home was horrific.
Worse. Yeah.
So you combine that, and then that led to the double, which led to the home run, which led to the loss. And now that's where the Red Sox sit. If we look ahead, and so we went through the Orioles series, and then they're going to play. Now, the bad news is they're on the road all week. The good news is it's in the same city. They're playing Baltimore and Washington, D.C. So you can pile up at the same hotel wherever you decide to stay at. You don't have to move out, which is great, right? Because there is that part of it having to unpack, pack, blah, blah, blah. So you can pile up in an extended stay if you want, because you're going to be there a week.
And another side of it is they're going to be playing in Baltimore, and we're going to have more Red Sox fans there than Oriole fans.
Well,
we always do.
You're going to have the same thing in Washington.
No, we're not. But I'm saying the
Nationals,
first 3 games,
no,
it's not going to be
I think
like
you
really.
Will. I think you will, because Washington, D.C., and Baltimore separated by about a half hour. And if you're going to go to the Orioles game, you're going to go to the Nationals game, and the Nationals are not selling out their 30 games under 500.
Yeah, and Sox fans, I mean, we got a lot riding on these games. Plus, we travel well anyway. And I've been to Camden Yards.
I think
like
worst
7 or 8
case scenario. I think worst case scenario, it's a 50-50 crowd, right? Worst case.
Yeah.
But I think
still going to be.
I think the Red Sox fans will come out more than what the Nationals and Orioles fans are going to be at this stage of the year.
Yeah.
Come on.
I agree. Yeah.
They're more at this point. They're more invested in what the Ravens and the Washington football team is doing. They don't care. So Red Sox fans will be able to walk up and buy a ticket for $5. So
Sure.
The Nationals, they have not announced a starter for Friday in that game or Saturday. So I would assume nor on Sunday, but the Nationals at this point, Nationals and Orioles are going to be dumping out their prospects. So unless you just get a kid who gets really hot one night, I think it's very realistic that Boston wins 5 of 6 games, maybe even 6 of 6. But it's really difficult to say, well, they're going to sweep 2 series because they're still they're still playing two teams that are in Major League Baseball. So you're going to have guys, they're going to be out there trying to play spoiler because they want to be on TV and be shown for that for the highlights.
Yeah, their parents are in the stands for the first time and stuff like that. You know, baseball's going to happen. Is it a big, tall ask, even though it is Baltimore and the Washington? Is it a tall task to ask for 6-0? Yeah. Is it possible? Absolutely. Probable? Probably not. I'm thinking,
if you win 4 of 6, I think you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. If we go 4-2, I think realistically we're, because of the Jays and the Yankees playing beating up on one another, one of those are going to slip, you know, and so
your best case scenario might be to pull for the Yankees to beat the Blue Jays at the beginning of this week, because the Blue Jays are at home against the Orioles on the weekend, but the Yankees have to go to Tampa Bay and they don't play well there. And though Tampa Bay will probably rest their guys on Sunday, they're not going to just fold up tents just because they won the division, because you don't want these guys having a bunch of rust.
Right.
So,
and Cash doesn't do that.
Right.
I've never seen him do that.
Sunday's game will be a crapshoot. He's going to put his prospects out there and give everyone a day off going into the playoffs. But Friday's a night game. Saturday is actually a day game. If you leave it up to Sunday and you're complaining because Cash is benching players, whether you're a Blue Jays or Red Sox fan or whatever, then you know what? You put yourself in that position.
Right. No, that's not on the Rays, man. That's on the team. That, you know, the Rays have done what they had to do. And I mean, let's be honest. They're so good. I mean, whoever plays them in the playoffs are going to lose to them anyway, whether you're wearing pinstripes or Red Sox. The Rays are just going to
never know, though. It's a 5-game series and they don't have a dominant starter. So you never know. And as the old saying goes with baseball, momentum is today's starting pitcher. Well, the problem with the Rays is 60% of the time their starting pitcher is a reliever. And so you can look at from the positive side, man, you got to face 5-6 pitchers to get through them. But all it takes is one guy to go out there and not have his stuff. And so
but the problem is we have to go to Tampa and play in that cat box down there, and the Yankees or the Red Sox do well there.
So what would you love to do? And I don't know why they didn't set this up differently. Chris Sale should have pitched last night. They should have figured out the rotation, and Chris Sale should have pitched last night, because then that would have put him in line to pitch Friday. And then if need be, he could come in for relief on a pinch on Sunday for an inning. But more importantly, if you're in the wild card game, he would be set up to pitch on Wednesday for the wild card game. Is it Wednesday or is it Tuesday? Is it Tuesday this year?
Tuesday.
Okay, Tuesday. So it's Tuesday this year. So in theory, Chris Sale should have pitched on Saturday to set up Thursday, Tuesday. But that's not what we got. Instead, what we have is Sale pitch Tuesday. In a perfect world, if they clinch, he doesn't have to pitch Sunday. And if he doesn't have to pitch Sunday, you save Sale for Tuesday.
For Tuesday, yeah. Right. That's the perfect scenario. But, man, we've painted ourselves into such a corner now that it's hard to say. I mean, we're just going to have to sit back and watch.
Let me ask you this. What if it comes down to this? Because this is a scenario, whether it's Yankees or Blue Jays, doesn't matter. What if you go to the final game of the season? You know you're in, but you don't know if you host yet. You need to win to be able to host it in Fenway, right? Do you start Chris Sale to be able to play at home, or do you save Chris Sale for Tuesday to be able to have him in there as the guy?
You save it. You save him for Tuesday.
I agree.
Hands down.
I feel like you find a way to win that game on Sunday, and if it doesn't work out, then you're on the road, but you have Sale, right?
But you're still in, and you've got Chris Sale going.
Right.
That game is way, way more important than home field advantage.
I agree.
I think, get in. That's the job now. We've backed ourselves up, but get in
And the way it sets
And
up,
then-
because he has come out of relief too many times in his career. Eovaldi could come out of the pen too on that Tuesday game.
Oh yeah, I mean, what was it? Game 3 and the World Series, he came out and pitched 6 no.
Well, that's where he cut his teeth in Tampa when he was originally in a Ray. He was originally a bullpen guy. Switching gears real quick before we have to run out of here, because we do like to talk Braves baseball. We just kind of got overrun with the excitement of the American League. The Braves start a series tomorrow night for all the marbles. Philadelphia Phillies. We're going to host them in Atlanta. I will be broadcasting all 3 games, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, and I will continue to broadcast all Brave games this week until they clinch or die trying. But 2.5 game lead now, 3 in the loss column. If need be, there would be a game played on Monday at home against the Colorado Rockies, but we hope it doesn't get to that. It's Morton versus Wheeler in game number 1, a great pitching matchup. These pitching matchups are phenomenal, by the way. It's almost like a playoff series atmosphere. It's going to be Aaron Nola versus Max Fried in game number 2. I give the edge to Atlanta in game number 2. In game number 1, that's a toss-up. Wheeler has been phenomenal, but Morton's been really good, and both bullpens have been trash. And then the final game on Thursday, that won't be a getaway day like normal. That is a night game in Atlanta again, 7:20. First pitch. We'll come on the air about 7:15-ish. Ian Anderson versus Gibson. By name alone, you look at the ERA and you see Ian Anderson, 3.6 ERA, 8-5 on the year. Gibson, 10-8 record, 3.6 ERA. And you go, man, this ought to be a great pitching matchup. There's probably gonna be a lot of runs scored because Gibson has faltered a little bit since the trade over to Philly, and Ian Anderson has been a shadow of his 2020 self. So that's probably going to be a game where, at least from the Atlanta end, I expect the bullpen to be heavily involved. Even when Ian Anderson pitches well, he has a hard time getting out of the 5th inning. The other day I did a game where he struck out 8, and you go, man, that's great. He got through like 4 2/3 innings because he had like 100 pitches because if it wasn't a strike, he was bouncing it up to the plate. It was the most, what's the old term, Timus, that they use, effectively wild.
Yeah.
Well, he was also playing Arizona. So yeah, come on.
Yeah, he's the Atlanta's Erod, basically.
Right. And look, his first 2 years, he hasn't been like this. He's struggled with injuries, and when he's came up, I just don't think he's ever gotten his groove back. But let's go ahead and turn back time and do our walk-offs here. Give me 1 second to get this set up here. And so we are at the top of the hour, and I know Timus has stuff to do, and I've got stuff I've got to deal with as well. So here we go. On this date in 2005, the Braves win their 14th consecutive division flag, with the Mets beating the Phillies 3-2. That would end the record streak that year. The next year that they would not win the division. 14 consecutive division championships. Of course, the naysayers will always say only one World Series title. But it was a fun time to be a Braves fan back then. It's still a fun time to be a Braves fan now. It was not so fun to be a Braves fan from about, let's say, 06-ish, 07-ish to about 2017-ish. But, it all goes in cycles unless you're the Red Sox and Yankees, where you can just buy more. Also, on this date, 1919, Boston Red Sox slugger Babe Ruth takes his home run record to 29 with a third inning blast in a 7-5 defeat against the Washington Senators. Of course, he would be traded in the offseason for Nanette. Make sure that thing got done. All right, birthdays. Yeah, exactly. Okay, we always start off with one person no longer with us, and we'll start off with Johnny Pesky. I'm sure you've heard of him. The Pesky pole was named after Johnny Pesky. Played for the Red Sox for 1942. Then there was the World War II. He came back and played from 46 to 52. Was infamous for hitting that pole down the line. Became known as the Pesky pole for home runs on the right field line. And that's he also played for Detroit and the Washington Senators, but obviously much more well known for his time in Boston. And then also another baseball great, and he is still with us at last check. 70, man, that doesn't sound right. 72 years old. You want to feel old, team? 72 years old, this guy. Michael Jack Schmidt. 72 years old. How is he 72 years old? That guy's still 35 in my head, slamming balls out of the old Philadelphia Stadium.
And vacuuming third base. I mean, nothing got by that guy. Nothing.
He is by far, behind Chipper Jones, the best third baseman I ever saw. I'll still take
got to
Chipper.
see him. Yeah,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I got to see Schmidt play live when I was like 8 or 9 years old.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, and I don't know.
Training in Florida. Yeah.
It was spring training.
That's awesome.
The Astros played across from my school, and so I got to walk over and see. I got to see Nolan Ryan pitch and do his warm ups and all that stuff. And Schmidt, I don't know if I've ever seen. I mean, maybe Stupid Boggs, but there's 2 or 3 Chipper, obviously, but very few people are in his caliber.
Yeah, exactly. The funny thing is, I don't despise Jack Schmidt being a Philadelphia Philly, because when I was a kid growing up, we were not in the same division as the Phillies. We were in the NL West. So my hatred for teams were all NL West based, mainly the Los Angeles Dodgers as a kid, right? But I didn't have a particular hatred for the East until you get into the 90s and 2000s and whatnot, and then that's where I'm like, screw Chase Utley, it's that kind of thing. But as far as those Phillies teams back then, the Phillies were in the made it to the with the World Series against the Orioles in '83, and strangely enough, I was pulling for that Phillies team because of the players that were on there. You had Pete Rose on that team, you had the great Joe Morgan on that team, and so my grandfather just talked about these guys so much that I felt like I had to pull for that team. But I did not hate the Phillies. There was not a transfer of hatred until, like I said, around 06, 07-ish, when we quit winning divisions and they started winning divisions, and then they beat the Rays. What is your walk-off for the day, sir?
All right, Sox, let's close the book on that horrible, horrible weekend. Let's go out and beat some terrible teams, get in the playoffs, and we can start the season over. Go Sox.
My walk-off is going to be, once again, I told you I was dedicating this show to my little dog, Coda. She's in a bad way. And before I break up and, act like a blubbering schoolgirl over here, I just want to dedicate this show once again to her. We put something together as we end the show, as she has been here from the very beginning, and all the clips you hear, all the commercials you hear, everything that I've ever put together, she was right by my side for the last 7-8 years when she would sit by or walk by my office back at the old house. She would come in and lay down when there was more room, and kind of sit there and go, what in God's name are you talking about? And there's a lot of funny things that happened during the show. Justin laughing one time because the camera at the time was angled right at the door to my office, And during one of the breaks, Justin goes, "Your dog keeps giving me dirty looks every time she walks by." And really what it was is that Coda was looking in to see if there was food to be eaten. So we're going to miss you dearly, Coda. And we will see y'all Friday. I will see you tomorrow night, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Braves versus Phillies, and put something together to end the show for you.
Well, the season's finally here, and the players hit the field, and every man feels like a boy, and every wife could kill. He's been buying beer since August, running hot and running cold, and 30 friends are on alert, that's all the den'll hold. 'Cause he's the armchair quarterback, he's full of beer and he's full of snacks, the all-American